The Power of Now, by Eckhart Tolle. A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment. Book summary in English. Introduction. The origin of this book. Eckhart Tolle begins by recounting his personal journey from a state of chronic anxiety and deep depression to a profound spiritual awakening. Until his 30th year, he lived in almost continuous mental and emotional suffering. One night, he awoke with an intense feeling of dread and a thought that became a catalyst. I cannot live with myself any longer. This thought led to a sudden, profound realization. He became aware of a critical distinction between the I and the self that he could not live with. This moment of stunned awareness caused his mind to stop completely. He was drawn into a vortex of energy, let go of all resistance, and fell into a void. He awoke the next morning to a world transformed. Everything felt fresh, pristine, and alive with a luminous, loving presence. For months, he lived in a state of deep peace and bliss. He later understood that the intensity of his suffering had forced his consciousness to withdraw from its identification with his unhappy, mind-based self, causing that false self to collapse. What remained was his true nature as pure, ever-present consciousness or being. This experience, and subsequent years spent in a state of intense joy without any conventional identity, became the foundation of his teaching. When people began asking him how to achieve the state of peace they sensed in him, his answer, "You have it already. You just can't feel it because your mind is making too much noise," eventually evolved into this book, The Truth That Is Within You. Tolle explains that the book is the essence of his work with spiritual seekers over a decade. It is structured in a question-and-answer format, reflecting the spontaneous dialogues from his seminars and counseling sessions. He outlines the book's two interconnected levels of operation. On one level, it helps the reader recognize the false, the unconscious patterns of the mind and ego, as not who they are. On another, more profound level, the book is designed not just to inform, but to actively draw the reader into a transformed state of consciousness, the now. The words themselves are intended to be portals into presence. He advises readers not to over-intellectualize the content, but to feel for a deep sense of recognition within, as the book's purpose is to remind them of a truth they have forgotten. The terminology is kept as neutral as possible to serve as a restatement of the one timeless spiritual teaching, the essence of all religions, derived from the true source within. Chapter 1. You Are Not Your Mind. The Greatest Obstacle to Enlightenment. Tolle uses a parable of a beggar sitting on a box of gold, unaware of the treasure beneath him, to illustrate that our true wealth, the radiant joy of being, is already within us. Enlightenment is not a superhuman accomplishment, but the natural state of feeling one with being. The Buddha simply defined it as the end of suffering. The primary obstacle to experiencing this is identification with the mind, which causes compulsive thinking. This mental noise creates a false, mind-made self, the ego, and blocks the inner stillness that is inseparable from being. The fundamental error, as epitomized by Descartes, I think, therefore I am, is to equate thinking with being and identity with thinking. Freeing yourself from your mind. The first step to liberation is to realize you are not the thinker, but the awareness behind the thoughts. This begins with watching the thinker, listening to the voice in your head impartially, without judgment. As you do this, you create a separation between yourself, the witnessing presence, and your mind. A new dimension of consciousness emerges. When a thought subsides, you experience a gap of no mind, where you feel stillness, peace, and a subtle joy. This is the beginning of your natural state of oneness with being. You can also create these gaps by simply directing your attention intensely into the present moment, into the now, which is the essence of meditation. The single most vital step toward enlightenment is to learn to disidentify from your mind. Enlightenment, rising above thought. Thinking is essential for practical tasks, but for most people, 80 to 90% of thinking is repetitive, useless, and often harmful. This compulsive thinking is an addiction because you derive your sense of self from it. The ego, this false self, lives almost exclusively through memory and anticipation. It cannot tolerate the present moment. Enlightenment means rising above thought, not reverting to a plant-like state. In this state, you use your mind when needed in a focused and effective way, but are free from involuntary internal dialogue. True creativity arises from no mind, from inner stillness. The intelligence that creates and sustains life is far greater than the mind. Emotion, the body's reaction to your mind. Emotion is the body's reaction to your mind. It arises at the intersection of mind and body. A hostile thought creates anger in the body. A thought of threat creates fear. The more identified you are with your thinking, the stronger your emotional energy charge. Unexpressed emotions can manifest as physical problems or symptoms. To understand your mind, look at the emotion reflected in your body. The emotion is often a more truthful indicator of your state than your surface thoughts. Observing an emotion allows you to separate from it. You are no longer the emotion but the watcher. Most emotions are modified versions of one primordial, undifferentiated emotion rooted in the loss of awareness of your true nature. This can be called pain. Positive states like love, joy, and peace are not emotions. They are deep states of being that arise from beyond the mind and have no opposite. Chapter 2. Consciousness, the way out of pain. Create no more pain in the present. A great deal of human pain is unnecessary and self-created by the unobserved mind. Pain created now is a form of non-acceptance or resistance to what is. This resistance manifests as judgment on the level of thought and negativity on the emotional level. The intensity of pain depends on your degree of resistance to the now, which in turn depends on how strongly you are identified with your mind. The mind denies the now because it needs time, past and future, to survive and remain in control. To stop creating pain, stop creating psychological time. Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. Surrender to what is. Say yes to the present moment, and then act if necessary. Accept, then act. Past pain, dissolving the pain body. Emotional pain that is not fully faced and accepted leaves behind a residue of pain that merges with past pain to form an energy field called the pain body. This negative energy field, lodged in your mind and body, can be dormant or active. When active, it seeks to survive by feeding on experiences that match its energy, such as drama, conflict, and even illness. It can make you want more pain, either as a victim or a perpetrator. The pain body is afraid of the light of your consciousness. To dissolve it, you must face it, feel it directly in your body, and bring the light of your conscious presence to it. When you observe it without judgment, the identification is broken. You become the witness, and the pain body can no longer control you or replenish itself. Ego identification with the pain body. If you have lived closely identified with your pain body for a long time, you may have created an unhappy self out of it and fear losing this familiar identity. You must observe this resistance and the peculiar pleasure you derive from being unhappy. Once you make this conscious, you can take your attention into the pain body and initiate its transmutation. The origin of fear. Psychological fear is always of something that might happen, not of something happening now. You are in the now, but your mind is in the future, creating an anxiety gap. The ego, being a vulnerable phantom, feels constantly under threat, and this continuous message of danger generates fear in the body. Ultimately, all fear is the ego's fear of death, of annihilation. Once you disidentify from your mind, the compulsive need to be right, to defend your mental positions, disappears, as your sense of self is no longer derived from them. The ego's search for wholeness. Another aspect of the egoic mind is a deep-seated sense of lack or incompleteness. People try to fill this hole through ego gratification, possessions, work, status, relationships, and belief systems. However, even when attained, these external things cannot give lasting fulfillment. The hole remains, and the ego's needs are endless. True wholeness cannot be found in form. Chapter 3. Moving deeply into the now. Don't seek yourself in the mind. You do not need to learn all the complexities of the mind to become enlightened. The basic dysfunction, identification with the mind, has already been identified. Studying the mind's manifestations only gives the ego more to attach to. Once you recognize the root of unconsciousness, you can step out of it by becoming present. End the delusion of time. To disidentify from the mind, end the delusion of time. Identification with the mind is to be trapped in time, living through memory and anticipation. Time is an illusion. The most precious thing is the now, because it is all there is, and it is your only point of access into the timeless realm of being. Nothing exists outside the now. Nothing ever happened in the past. It happened in the now. Nothing will happen in the future. It will happen in the now. The past is a memory trace, activated now. The future is an imagined now, projected now. Their reality is borrowed from the eternal present. The key to the spiritual dimension. The now has always been the key to the spiritual dimension, though this has often remained a secret. In life-threatening situations, the shift to presence sometimes happens naturally. The essence of Zen and other mystical traditions is to be so utterly present that no problem or suffering can survive. Accessing the power of the now. Tolle describes a dialogue where a person, by looking at a tree with intense presence, briefly perceived its inner aliveness and felt a part of it. This was a glimpse of the timeless dimension. What is needed, however, is a permanent shift in consciousness. Break the pattern of present moment resistance. Withdraw attention from past and future when not needed. Step out of time as much as possible in daily life. Letting go of psychological time. Learn to use clock time for practical matters, but return to present moment awareness immediately afterward. This prevents the buildup of psychological time, which is identification with the past and compulsive projection into the future. When you make a mistake, learn from it now, but do not dwell on it mentally, as that turns it into psychological time and a burden of self. The insanity of psychological time. Collectively, the insanity of psychological time is evident in ideologies that justify present misery for a future paradise, leading to enslavement, torture, and murder on a massive scale. Personally, it manifests as always trying to get somewhere else, making fulfillment a future event, and losing the vibrancy of life. Negativity and suffering have their roots in time. Unease, anxiety, and stress are caused by too much future. Guilt, regret, and resentment are caused by too much past. The only place where real change can occur and where the past can be dissolved is the now. Finding the life underneath your life situation. Your life situation exists in time and is mind stuff. Your life is now and is real. When you are unhappy, you are focused on your life situation. Narrow your life down to this moment. Use your senses fully. Be where you are. Find the life underneath your life situation. All problems are illusions of the mind. Focus your attention on the now, and you will find you have no problem at this moment. A situation that needs to be dealt with or accepted is not a problem. Problems are mind-made and need time to survive. They cannot live in the actuality of the now. A quantum leap in the evolution of consciousness. The shift from time-bound consciousness to presence is part of a profound transformation in the collective consciousness of the planet, an awakening from the dream of matter, form, and separation. This is a quantum leap in evolution, and our only chance of survival as a race. The joy of being. A simple criterion for presence is to ask, is there joy, ease, and lightness in what I am doing? If not, time is covering the present moment. Change the how, not the what. Give your fullest attention to whatever the moment presents. When you honor the now, unhappiness dissolves and life flows with joy and ease. When you are free of psychological time, your sense of self is derived from being, and you are already complete and whole now. Chapter 4. Mind Strategies for Avoiding the Now. Loss of now, the core delusion. The core delusion is the loss of now, which turns situations, events, or emotions into personal problems and suffering. To be free of time is to be free of the psychological need for the past for your identity and the future for your fulfillment. Ordinary unconsciousness and deep unconsciousness. Most people alternate between different levels of unconsciousness. Ordinary unconsciousness is being identified with your thought processes and emotions, resulting in a continuous low level of unease, discontent, or boredom. Deep unconsciousness is a state of acute suffering that arises when things go wrong, threatening the ego, often activating the pain body. What are they seeking? Tolle references a Native American chief's observation that white people always seem to be seeking something, restless and uneasy. This undercurrent of unease is the collective dysfunction of humanity, the resistance to the now, which is the root of suffering as taught by the Buddha and Jesus. Dissolving ordinary unconsciousness. Make the unconscious conscious. Observe the many ways unease arises through unnecessary judgment, resistance, and denial of the now. Make it a habit to monitor your mental-emotional state by asking, "What's going on inside me at this moment?" Freedom from unhappiness. If you resent what you are doing, you are resisting the now and creating unhappiness. You have 3 options. Remove yourself from the situation, change it, or accept it totally. All else is madness. Do not pollute your inner space and the world with negativity. Wherever you are, be there totally. Resisting your here and now is a common strategy for avoiding the now. Wherever you are, be there totally. If you find it intolerable, you have the same 3 options: leave, change, or accept. Surrender is not weakness, but great spiritual power. Stress is caused by being here but wanting to be there, a split that is insane. The inner purpose of your life's journey. Your life's journey has an outer purpose, goals, achievements, and an inner purpose. The inner purpose has nothing to do with where you are going, but everything to do with the quality of your consciousness in this moment. It concerns the deepening of your being in the timeless now. The outer purpose is a game. The inner purpose is the journey into yourself. The past cannot survive in your presence. You do not need to delve endlessly into your personal or collective unconscious past. Deal with the past on the level of the present. Whatever you need to know about the unconscious past will be revealed by the challenges of the present. Give attention to your reactions, moods, and emotions as they occur now. That is where the past is. The past cannot survive in your presence. Chapter 5. The State of Presence. It's not what you think it is. Presence cannot be understood by the mind. It can only be experienced. A simple experiment is to close your eyes and ask, "I wonder what my next thought will be," and then wait in alert stillness. In that state of intense presence, you are free of thought. The esoteric meaning of waiting. There is a qualitatively different kind of waiting, one of total alertness and stillness, where all your attention is in the now. This is the state Jesus pointed to in his parables about servants waiting for the master, a state of intense, conscious presence. Beauty arises in the stillness of your presence. True beauty can only be perceived when the mind is still. In moments of satori, a flash of insight or no mind, you may perceive the sacred essence and beauty of nature. Most modern art and architecture lack beauty because they are created from a mind that has not been free, even for a moment, from its own noise. Realizing pure consciousness. When you become conscious of being, being becomes conscious of itself. This is presence. Consciousness is evolving through forms in this world, but in absolute terms, it is already complete. The divine game, Lila, Is consciousness losing itself in form and then, through the pressure of suffering, awakening from the dream of form to reclaim its true nature at a deeper level? Christ, the reality of your divine presence. Christ is another word for presence or your indwelling God essence. Jesus was a man who realized this Christ presence, his true nature. The second coming of Christ is the transformation of human consciousness from time to presence, not the arrival of a person. Do not personalize Christ or get attached to any spiritual form, including teachers. Use the Master's presence to reflect your own presence. Chapter 6: The Inner Body. Being is your deepest self. The body can be a point of access into being. To inhabit the body is to feel the life inside it from within, leading you to know you are beyond the outer form. Look beyond the words. Do not get stuck on words like sin. See the reality they point to, unconsciousness or insanity. The human race, in its egoic state, has created immense suffering, which is a form of collective insanity. Finding your invisible and indestructible reality. Underneath the visible, tangible body is the inner body, the invisible energy field that animates the physical form. Feeling this inner body is the beginning of a journey into great stillness, peace, and power. Connecting with the inner body. Direct your attention into the body. Feel it from within. Feel the subtle energy field that pervades the entire body. The more attention you give it, the clearer and stronger this feeling becomes. Transformation through the body. Historically, many religions have condemned the body, leading to practices of denial and asceticism. However, transformation happens through the body, not away from it. You cannot become enlightened by fighting or leaving the body. Sermon on the body. The body, as a dense physical structure, is not ultimately real. However, within this illusory veil lies the invisible inner body, the doorway into being and the unmanifested. Do not turn away from the body, for within it is concealed your immortal reality. Have deep roots within. The key is to be in a state of permanent connectedness with your inner body. This anchors you in the now and prevents you from being taken over by the mind. It makes you like a tree deeply rooted in the earth, unshakable by external events. Before you enter the body, forgive. If you feel agitation or nausea when trying to feel the inner body, it is likely a lingering emotion or grievance blocking access. Observe this emotion, feel it fully, and accept it. Forgiveness is to relinquish your grievance and offer no resistance to life. Before you can fully inhabit the temple of your body, you must forgive. Your link with the unmanifested. The inner body is your link with the unmanifested being. Awareness of the inner body is consciousness remembering its origin. Slowing down the aging process. Awareness of the inner body can significantly slow the aging process. As you inhabit the body, its molecular structure becomes less dense, and the accumulation of time in your psyche and cells is reduced. Strengthening the immune system. Inhabiting the body also strengthens the physical and psychic immune systems. It raises your vibrational frequency, making you less susceptible to illness and the negativity of others. Let the breath take you into the body. If you find it hard to feel the inner body, focus on your breathing first. Conscious breathing will gradually put you in touch with the body. Creative use of mind. When you need to use your mind creatively, stop thinking for a moment by focusing on your inner body. Become aware of the stillness. When you resume thinking, it will be fresh and creative. The art of listening. When listening to another person, listen with your whole body. Feel your inner energy field. This creates a still space that enables true listening and communion, which is the beginning of oneness and love. Chapter 7: Portals into the Unmanifested. Going deeply into the body. Through meditation, you can go so deeply into the feeling of the inner body that you transcend the body itself. You merge with the energy field, and the duality between observer and observed dissolves. You access the realm of pure being, the unmanifested, a realm of deep stillness, peace, joy, and intense aliveness. The source of chi. The unmanifested is the source of chi, or prana. Chi is the inner energy field of your body, the bridge between the manifested and the unmanifested. By going deeply into the inner body, you can trace this energy back to its source. Dreamless sleep. You merge with the unmanifested every night in dreamless sleep, but unconsciously. The portal of the inner body allows you to enter it consciously while awake. Other portals. Other portals into the unmanifested include the now, the main portal, essential to all others. The cessation of thinking, created through meditation or intense present moment awareness. Surrender, letting go of mental emotional resistance to what is. Love is not a portal. It is what comes through the portal once it is open. Silence. The unmanifested is present in this world as silence. All sound is born out of silence and returns to it. Paying attention to outer silence creates inner stillness. Silence is like God. Space. The unmanifested is also present as space. Just as silence enables sound to be, space enables objects to be. The essence of all things is emptiness. By withdrawing attention from things in space and becoming aware of space itself, you simultaneously become aware of the inner space of no mind. The true nature of space and time. Externally, space and time are the two essential attributes of God, infinity and eternity, perceived as external reality. Internally, their equivalents are the inner space of no mind, stillness, and the inner time of the eternal now, presence. The ultimate purpose of the manifested world is to enable the unmanifested to be realized. Conscious death. Death is another portal into the unmanifested. At the moment of physical death, the portal opens briefly as a radiant light. If you are conscious enough, you can go through it consciously, which is conscious immortality. Death is the end of the illusion of form identification. Only the real in you, your radiant true nature, remains. Chapter 8. Enlightened Relationships. Enter the now from wherever you are. The belief that a future relationship will save you is the core error. Salvation is here and now. You do not need a relationship to become free or complete. Enter the now from wherever you are, alone or in a relationship. Love/hate relationships. Unless you are present, intimate relationships are deeply flawed. The initial in love stage, which offers a tantalizing glimpse of wholeness, is often an addictive clinging, an ego need for a more complete sense of self. This love has an opposite and can quickly turn into its opposite, hate, attack, or hostility, creating a love/hate cycle. Addiction and the search for wholeness. We become addicted to another person because the relationship seems to offer salvation from the deep-seated fear, need, and incompleteness of the egoic state. On a physical level, it promises union with the missing energy polarity. On a psychological level, it provides a new external source for the sense of self. When the relationship fails to meet the ego's needs, the underlying pain resurfaces with even greater force, and the partner is blamed. From addictive to enlightened relationships. To transform a relationship, bring intense presence into it. Disidentify from the thinker and the pain body. The greatest catalyst for change is the complete acceptance of your partner as he or she is. This ends all mind games, clinging, and codependency. Love is a state of being deep within you, not dependent on an external form. True love is the realization of oneness. Relationships as spiritual practice. Relationships are here to make you conscious, not happy. When a relationship brings out the madness in you and your partner, see it as an opportunity for salvation. Hold the knowing of your inner state, whatever it is, in every moment. This makes the relationship your spiritual practice, sadhana. Do not accuse your partner of being unconscious. Instead, be the knowing and create a clear space of loving presence. Why women are closer to enlightenment. Generally, It is easier for women to feel and be in their bodies, making them naturally closer to being. The mind energy is essentially male, rigid, controlling, whereas being energy is more closely related to the female principle, soft, yielding, surrendering. However, the major obstacle for men is often the thinking mind, and for women, the pain body. Dissolving the collective female pain body. Women carry a share of the collective female pain body, accumulated pain from millennia of subjugation and suffering. This can be particularly activated around menstruation. This time can be used as a powerful opportunity for spiritual practice. By bringing intense awareness and acceptance to the awakening pain body, a woman can transmute it into consciousness, making her menstrual time a sacred period of transmutation and a joyful expression of her womanhood. Give up the relationship with yourself. In the enlightened state, you no longer have a relationship with yourself. The split between I and myself is healed. You are simply yourself. Once you give up that relationship, all other relationships become love relationships. Chapter 9. Beyond happiness and unhappiness there is peace. The higher good beyond good and bad. Happiness depends on conditions perceived as positive. Inner peace does not. True salvation is a state of freedom from fear, suffering, lack, and the psychological need for past and future. It is the peace of God which is beyond good and bad. When you are at one with what is, you live in the isness of life, and a deeper intelligence can operate through you. This is the higher good that can sometimes appear as bad from the limited perspective of the ego.